everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Wanted to get back at it with another weekly video to talk to you guys about this incoming Mercury Cazimi in the sign of Capricorn. Really cool transit. We see about 3, sometimes 4 if we get lucky, of these Cazimis with Mercury and the Sun per year. It's like an epiphany moment, so it can be a really powerful time for strategizing, powerful conversations, planning, anything in regards to business. And it just might be an aha moment. So I want to talk to you guys about how this may manifest. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm a Western astrologer with an emphasis in working with both the Sabian Symbols and tarot during my interpretations. If you like my content and you want to see more, make sure you click the button below and you're subscribed to my channel. Big thank you to all the members and supporters and everybody who's back. Happy New Year. Finally feeling a little bit better. It's been kind of an off last couple days. Weird way to ring in the new year, but we knew that 2023 was going to be a year where we had to make some changes, improvise. So glad to kind of be on the mend. Thank you guys all for your comments and your recommendations and your remedies. But yeah, feeling a little bit better. So let's take a look at this. This is going to be setting up for you guys on January 6th, 2023. So as you guys are watching this, it's about the day before. You may notice that the Cazimi is within, 48 to 72 hours of the actual conjunction that you have your aha moment. So if you're sitting around on the 6th going like, where's the insight? Where's the message? Just be open, be receptive. It's something that kind of comes to you. You don't have to go out there searching for it in the ethers. Now, the Cazimi in general, in layman's terms, this is kind of the midway point in the Mercury retrograde. So we know that we've been seeing Mercury turning retrograde in the cardinal earth sign of Capricorn. So when Mercury conjuncts the Sun, generally we see this as combust whenever a planet is within about 8 to 10 degrees of the Sun's rays, right? It kind of like burns up. But this is a superior transit where Mercury is actually ahead of the Sun relaying a message. So think of it, Mercury, as like the relay race or somebody who's in the chariot, racing off to like deliver a message to the king. So for all of us, we're going to have an opportunity through this superior conjunction to be able to get some insight, something that was missing, something that was not clear, suddenly becomes revealed. So if you've been like, what the heck's going on in the cosmos? What is the purpose of all this like mix up and mash up during the Mercury retrograde? Likely during this conjunction, you're going to figure out what's been going on. And it may also be a time where there's opportunities for change, for remedying something that was missing suddenly becomes found. All that fun stuff kind of happens with the Cazimi moments. And I like the aspects that it's going to be making through its transit. So specifically the sign of Capricorn, right? Connected to the 10th house, ruled by Saturn, has a real focus on commitment, planning, structure, timing, career, responsibility, right? Capricorn 10th house energies is our public reputation. It also has connections to rulers and people who are in charge. So we think of like bosses and parents and superiors, and particularly big statements that are coming out from federal governments or local governments. We might hear more about this as well. So this is no surprise where we've been hearing back and forth about tax stuff and back and forth about whether or not people are being brought in to be ruling things or responsible for certain things out in society. So during the Mercury retrograde, we see a little bit of like a ping pong match where Mercury's going back and forth and it's trying to kind of decide which direction he's going to be going in. So the Cazimi could represent like a turning point, right? But for the most part, Capricorn in all of our charts, we all have Capricorn somewhere in our natal chart, is going to represent something that we take seriously. That's kind of my theme here, what we take seriously. Notice that Mercury is kind of sandwiched between both the Sun and also Pluto. In his retrograde, he stopped short of coming into conjunction with Pluto. So he's hesitating, dragging his feet, delaying, making a profound shift, change, transformation of the mind, or just dropping or exposing some very, very, very significant news. And likely we'll be seeing that down the road as Mercury goes direct and then comes into conjunction with Pluto. But I think this might represent something very significant before some of this information becomes exposed, okay? That's the long and short of it. Now, 17 degrees in general is connected to the heart space, right? It's a degree in degree astrology associated with Leo. So my interpretation of this is like matters of the heart. Mercury is about communication, being able to relay information, being able to get the word out, texts, emails, all of that stuff. So the Sun Cazimi in general, regardless of the sign, can represent this moment of re-evaluating what do I want, right? What is important to me? What do I think? What do I have to say? Do I need to write a response? Do I need to get a letter in the mail? All that stuff. So 17 is matters of the heart. How do I better express what I love, right? And what I'm willing to do, work, right? Capricorn for love. But also I think this is about matters of power, both in terms of profession and responsibility out in the world. Solar power, something also in regards to our heart, right? So actual like life force, vital life force, and anything associated with the heart center. Love affairs, all right? So we see that with Leo, anything that we're in love with, whether it's a hobby or a game or a romantic partner, or there is this like love for something that brings out the inner child. Quality is something else I would think of when I think of Capricorn and the Sun Mercury Cazimi is what quality content, what quality words can I be presenting and putting out there. There may be some big news also in the entertainment world because we see that Leo deals with people who are on stage. So this can be celebrities or people who are connected to the big screen. And like I said, the work that we're willing to do for what it is that we love. Now, Sun Mercury in general for me also really highlights like pride. So the pride that we have in something that we have been able to create and work very hard on. So it's kind of hard not to acknowledge the Capricorn area of our chart right now because the retrograde is there, the sun is there. This is also a Cazimi moment that's happening during the time of the full moon in Cancer. So we're gonna feel that kind of tug of war that's going back and forth between our responsibility out in society, what the world sees, showing up to work, taking care of the kids, all of that external stuff, versus the internal need for care and nurturing and reflection and digestion and anything in regards to more the act of nurturing. So anytime we see a full moon, it represents kind of being pulled in two different directions on that particular axis, but it's being amplified because the Cazimi is going to be in opposition of the moon. So the moon, the full moon in Cancer, which is extra potent in general because the moon rules Cancer and the sextiles to Uranus, is really kind of saying where is the most important thing in regards to our emotions, our feelings, our home, and our family. It could also be nurturing, mothers, things that do with the past, our emotional health, and where there needs to be like a reorganization or a reworking or a returning to having a conversation in regards to what is our responsibility. Lots of home, family, domestic kind of stuff is going to come up because of the full moon, but it's amplified because of the opposition to Mercury. Now, this also makes me feel like it's much more difficult to communicate and emotionally connect. Obviously, that's a big part of that full moon. But with Mercury in opposition to the moon, there's what we need to get done, our schedules, our long to-do list. And then the moon is kind of saying, yeah, but I'm too sleepy for that, or I'm too emotional for that, or I'm too sensitive for that. So we can kind of get a little grouchy and get in our feelings. But I think that the Cazimi presents us with the opportunity to recognize where we need to kind of restructure how we're thinking, how we're working, and also what our responsibilities are, not just to the outer world, but also to ourselves. So we'll see themes possibly also connected because the sun is a solar figure. It's masculine in its energy, it burns. Stuff connected to pride for the family, pride for our father figures, our grandfathers, just older men in general, because Capricorn is a Saturn-based sign. I also anticipate, because 17 is connected to sports and anything in regards to sports arenas or matchups or anything in regards to athletes, we are going to be hearing more about athletes and health conditions, especially relating to the heart. So I'll just leave it at that, but I do think that we're going to hear more about this, where we're noticing a trend that's going on with athletes and issues where family members or women may be speaking out, or people might be coming out and grieving their airing their concerns or talking about grief that they're having for fellow players that have had health-related issues relating to the heart while they're playing games. Okay. Secondly, this is all going to be 12th house to Saturn, okay? So Saturn is the dispositor of the Sun, of Mercury, of Pluto, because this is all in a Capricorn related sign. So the fact that this energy is happening 12th house to Saturn tells me that there's something brewing. There's something quietly, subconsciously, psychically behind the scenes that are going on, okay? Decisions that are being made in secret. And likely it is going to be big political figures, people who have been in positions of power for long periods of time, because Capricorn is about long kind of top-down structure, reign in society, okay? CEOs that have been running businesses for decades, congressmen and women and senators and people who have been in their positions of power for a long time, meeting and having secret conversations about what is getting ready to be released during Aquarius season. Likely there's a possibility with the Cazimi that there is something that is unveiled, something that is leaked, some little tidbit of information that kind of sneaks out, maybe, especially because it's going to be during a full moon. And we will see that as Mercury gets closer to Pluto in the weeks ahead, that's when the real unveiling is going to begin. Okay, so the Cazimi moment is a thing of the sun. You want to think of the Cazimi moment as a moment where the sun is shining a light on something important. So this is where you want to pull out your chart, look at your natal chart, see where Capricorn is. Think of like the light being turned on that area, and there being some kind of illumination and having a better understanding as to plan or structure or organize or take responsibility in that area of your life. I love Cazimis. I was born with one, so I kind of find that I always find these weird serendipitous things. Like if I allow myself to just be present and be open to noticing like little signs and symbols and like omens. Like that's the best way that I can explain it. It's not as obvious as something that, hits you in the face, but it can be something as small as you're driving and you see repetitive numbers, or you see a billboard, or there happens to be like this like serendipitous thing where you run into this person and you have a conversation. Look for these signs and these symbols throughout the Cazimi moment, the 6th, maybe even the 7th or the 8th. Now, themes that we see during Cazimis, probably the number one thing that I've noticed, and I have other clients that have talked to me about these transits, is having a download, right? Like having that moment where maybe there is this internal kind of dialogue that's going on, or maybe you have a dream that's like really significant and really symbolic. Important conversations, breakthrough moments where you have sudden inspiration while you're journaling, while you're running, maybe even while you're working, because this is going to be in the sign of Capricorn. It's amazing in this sign for business plans and business strategy, thinking about launches, really kind of planning out 2023 and getting an idea of what your strategy is going to be, of when you're going to be initiating stuff or when you're going to be completing things, and really focusing on your goals. So this can be a wonderful time to sit down and do some journaling, okay, during that transit on the 6th, or it might be a time where you just notice that through conversation or meditation, you have a breakthrough and you have a realization about something, and there's a need to kind of write it down, get it out, go back, correct or fix something. I've also noticed during Cazimi moments, things that go missing sometimes can be found, or documents that have been missing can be found, like that email that you misplaced, suddenly it pops up. And there can also be like a remedy for any issues that we're having with travel or vehicles, or perhaps even gadgets. So there's like an awareness that's like, oh, this is broken. I got to reconnect this cable, right? Because Mercury's still playing games with us because he's retrograde. So it is possible that we become aware that something is not functioning, and we need to go in and we need to kind of put it back together in a different way. I've heard so many people telling me that they have been noticing issues with vehicles, computer breakdowns, miscommunications in the workspace, all kinds of issues with scheduling. This is a really opportune time to be able to kind of correct that, so we can use the second half of this Mercury retrograde to go back, rework these things, and have it in better working order. Now, Mercury was last at 17 degrees, right? Because he goes to a certain degree and then he retrogrades back. He was last at 17 degrees back on December 19th, 2022. So I want you guys to think back what was happening around the 17th, a little closer to around like what, 2 weeks ago, a little bit more than that. And that's when we were seeing this retrograde that was happening, or we were starting to come into the retrograde and we were feeling it. It was actually in shadow back then. So during this retrograde period, you know, Mercury's going to retrograde back, I think, to about 9 or so degrees, 8 degrees of Capricorn. It'll hit this again. So you're going to see it kind of go back and forth over this degree several times to get it worked out. Still, I mean, for me, I think the really simplified way of looking at this is, what do I love the most? What's going to make me the happiest? How can I be able to reevaluate or rework? And what am I willing to do? And how can I do something that I'm passionate about and something that I love? Obviously, like I said, it's going to fall in a different area of your chart, but things that we love are worth working hard for. And I think another theme connected to this is, yes, Mercury retrograde is happening, but Mercury has connections specifically to Gemini, right? Because Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So even though this Mercury retrograde is happening in the sign of Capricorn, it has strong ties to Mars, which is also retrograde. Something we're going to see in January is not only will Mars go direct actually in this next week, but Mercury will go direct as well. So we've got a lot of planets that are like getting ready to come back online. So the Mercury-Mars retrograde, there are some similarities there. We've seen a couple in conjunctions to one another, and we'll see it again as Mars is stationing and Mercury goes all the way back to about 8 or 9 degrees. So trying to reconcile, right? Gemini is, how do we communicate? How do we put the information out there? Capricorn is to be able to get the job done. So what we're seeing through some of this friction, and sometimes it feels uncomfortable in communication, sometimes it feels like it's a lot of heavy lifting. There's the need to communicate. Actually, we're seeing through the friction that it's pushing us to communicate better. It's pushing us to adhere to specific timelines and to really show up and take responsibility for something. Now, obviously, this is going to be felt the most by Geminis, Virgos, and Capricorns, okay? Because if you are a Gemini or a Virgo rising, you're ruled by Mercury. So these Mercury transits really kind of do a number on you. You guys really feel it. Secondly, also Capricorn rising, or if you have any personal planets around 17 degrees of Capricorn, this Cazimi is definitely going to be like a turning point. It might provide a little bit more extra insight or be more personal for you. This is going to affect 16 to 18 degrees of the cardinal signs, okay? So if you're an Aries or a Cancer or a Libra, Sun, Moon, or Rising, specifically the rising signs, or personal planets, 16 to 18 degrees, you're going to experience either a square or an opposition. So it might be a little louder for you than most people. Let me read to you guys the Sabian symbol before I get on to my predictions. And we're going to be reading, let's see, well, it's retrograding. So I'm going to read 16 degrees because that's pretty much where this is taking place. 16, no, we're going to read 17. Yeah, there we go, 17. So the conjunction's at 16, or the Cazimi's at 16, but we're going to be reading 17 because we're going to be rounding up. So for those of you guys who have the Sabian symbols, a screen of prophecy, this is going to be page 321. So Capricorn 17, a girl serendipitously bathing in the nude. The theme is the bare essentials. The symbol speaks to getting down to the bare essentials and to spiritual renewal through a communion with nature or the divine creator. The image of a girl serendipitously bathing in the nude alludes to the modesty, shyness, and inhibition. The human body symbolizes the temple of the living spirit, and bathing suggests purification and a spiritual rebirth. On a practical level, the symbol can indicate psychological catharsis or shedding of defense mechanisms and a freeing of the self through psychotherapy or counseling. At its highest, the symbol represents directness and natural unsophisticated self-expression. For the negative, secrecy and fear of public exposure or odd behavior. The accent is on overwhelming shyness. You may decide to try something new today that you would prefer to do privately without an audience. The opportunity. The greatest advantage lies in saturating yourself in anything you want to learn. Start with the basics and get comfortable at that level before going deeper. Guard against dabbling in things or only getting your toes wet. Don't be afraid to take a chance and dive right in. So stepping stones would be modesty, shyness, naturalness, secrecy, concealment, confidentiality, privacy. I really think this is about things that people would rather not have exposed coming forward. Things that people don't really want to say or don't really want to talk about coming out. Now, this is out in the world, but this is also within our own lives as well. And I really feel like the whole bare essentials thing, because to see this retrograde have gone through Capricorn, maybe it's just me because I have a ton of planets in Capricorn, there's been this like, okay, let's make it simpler. Like, let's declutter it. Like, let's make it more like Saturn based. Like, it has to be functional. It doesn't need all the bells and whistles. It needs to just be something that's functional and clean and something that just kind of works. And I think that we may find some of the conversations that are coming out right now is like, well, how do we make this better? And it might be embarrassing. Some of the things that we have to talk about is embarrassing. We may find that we're feeling a little bit out of our comfort zone because there is this need to be able to correct something or change direction on something, and we don't know how to get there. We don't know how to do it. And we're having to learn new skills. That's a big thing with Mercury retrograde, learning new skills. And sometimes that's about being able to acknowledge, like, I don't know how to do this, right? Can you show me how? Can you assist me? Can you tell me your experiences? Can you guide me through this? Which is going to require us to be humble, right? So many of us may not be used to asking for assistance. We may not be used to admitting like we don't know how to do something. But what's cool is I think that this is about being able to be more practical, being able to also have this process of catharsis and clearing in that process, and being able to kind of getting back down to basics. So naturalness is something else that kind of comes to mind, like learning how to reconnect to nature, learning how to not be embarrassed by things that should just be natural, right? Bathing in the nude, especially if this is, if you look at this from a variation of different cultures, it's not unusual to do that. We think of like bathhouses and going and washing in rivers and streams and being able to do that stuff. So I like the fact that it highlights not being shy, learning not to be shy, and kind of putting your best foot forward and being like, this is natural. So it can deal with our bodies, right? It can deal with responsibilities. It can deal with stepping up to the plate and being like, I've never done this before, but I know that this is something that I'm gonna have to learn how to do. So we may be actually turning to elders. We may be turning to people who have had experiences in situations where we're feeling like we need a little bit more guidance. I like it. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to take a look at the 12 signs. I'm going to take you guys through that. Just remember, okay, if you go back in time, you want to look at December 19th. That was the last time that you saw Mercury at this degree. Since this retrograde had started, okay, now that it's coming back, it's a continuation of something that's been maturing, stabilizing, and building over these last few weeks. So just because the Cazimi is happening, it doesn't mean that you need to kind of have all your shift together yet. You're not really going to have to need your shift together until Aquarius season. This may be that turning point where you get the insight and information that you need cosmically from a friend, whatever. May even be like an article, you know, a book you pick up, a podcast that you just so happen to catch that's going to help you figure out, I think, how to get the job done and how to be able to rework something. All right. As always, I am a Western astrologer, so this is going to be my prediction for the tropical Sun Cazimi that's taking place in Capricorn. I am going to be using whole sign only because it's going to be the most basic. It's going to be the easiest for everyone. If you're a Placidus user, awesome. You want to see where 16, 17 degrees of Capricorn is going to be, which house, okay? If this all sounds like Latin, go online, find a birth chart calculator, put in your time, date, location, hit calculate, and look at the 9 o'clock hour. That is your ascendant. You want to be listening for your ascendant, then your sun and your moon. They all help, okay? But I find that you're going to make the most of my predictions by listening to your ascendant sign. And as a reminder, this is going to be felt the most by Gemini, Virgo, and Capricorn risings. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Obviously, we'll start with Aries. What's going on, Aries? Some of this may sound similar because you guys have possibly seen my Mercury retrograde video. If you haven't, check it out. I take you through the signs and I talk about all of the different aspects because we are going to see several aspects hanging out. It hasn't happened yet. This is why I haven't really brought it up yet. But, you know, Mercury is kind of still in this trine with Uranus. All right. The sun's coming out of the trine. So every time Mercury goes retrograde and it hits that kind of 14 to 16 degrees of Capricorn, it's going to trine Uranus. So it's going to make changes. But we'll talk more about that when it's going direct because we're going to see it one more time. Okay. All right. So back to this. Aries, sun, moon, and rising. Hopefully you're doing well and you are enjoying this retrograde. All right, so you're seeing the sun Cazimi taking place in your 10th house of Capricorn. You and all of the cardinal rising signs are really going to be feeling this big time. So Mercury, right, going through your 10th house is putting such an emphasis on career, boss, responsibility, your outer kind of communication with superiors, talking to people, talking to coworkers, all that fun stuff. Mercury naturally rules your 3rd house of communication, short distance travel, documents, as well as your 6th house of daily routine and habits. So you're seeing like a theme of your 3rd house and your 6th house being reworked in your 10th house. This tells me that you're like, you know, possibly having to reschedule meetings. There's, you know, clients or people who kind of fall through. Maybe you're short on an assistant. Maybe you need some more assistance. Maybe you're having some issues with a gadget like a laptop, an email goes missing, something like that. And somebody can come in to kind of help you. That can be how this materializes. Now, the sun Mercury Cazimi means that there's like some insight that you get at work. So you might hear from a boss or a superior, yeah, so-and-so is going to be retiring, right? Or we're going to be making this adjustment, or we're possibly going to be cutting back on something or someone. They may call a meeting. There might be a memo that goes out, something like that. So look for that. And Mercury is providing some insight for you on what it is that you love. How can you integrate more fun, more creativity, more of your personal touch in what it is that you're doing out in the world, okay? So this is that turning point for those of you guys who are thinking about changing jobs, quitting jobs, and giving your notice. If you're waiting to hear back on a job interview, if you're waiting for that moment of inspiration to figure out what the heck should I be doing, likely this might be the moment that you find all of this stuff out, okay? Let's see what the cards say for you, my Aries. I have this feeling that it's about you kind of weighing your options on like what you value too, just with the aspects that's going on with the North Node and Mercury. Let's see. How appropriate, the Two of Swords. So it's literally about like weighing your options. Literally, it's like, do I want this or do I want that? Do I want the paycheck or do I want the freedom, right? Do I want this schedule or that schedule? And it can be about negotiations. That is possible. I think it can be about having one foot in and one foot out and being like, okay, do I need to make this schedule change so I can make more time for the things that I really do value and the things that I do want to build, right? So likely you might go back and forth a little bit. It may take some time. Look at some of the experiences that are happening at work or with superiors or in the workspace to help you make a better decision in terms of what is best for you. And it can be about you watching and seeing and like taking a look at how people treat you and whether or not you're feeling valued in the workplace. And that may actually have an effect on the decision that you're making. Good luck. All right, so let's take this through to my Taurus and Taurus risings. What's going on, guys? You've got a Mercury Cazimi involving the sun and Mercury in a sister sign of Capricorn, and it's in your natal 9th house. Education, travel, beliefs, okay? That's basically the bottom line for the 9th house. Sure, it can be publishing, right? It can be, it's stuff involving law, right? Or settlements or anything in regards to business law as well, talking to attorneys, that kind of stuff. And it's going retrograde and it's coming into conjunction with your sun. Now, in your astrology natally, You have Mercury ruling your second house of money, values, and resources, and also your fifth house of creativity, children, love affairs, anything in regards also to having fun. So you're seeing that there is second house and fifth house themes playing out in your ninth house, Taurus. Sure, it can be about changes in direction when it comes to your life purpose. You're like, I don't know, do I value this? Do I value that? You know, do I want to spend the money right now on going on a trip? Is it better spent, you know, going back to school? Sure, these things you could be thinking about. But it could also be just about how much work or energy you're putting into a ninth house thing. You might be deciding that you want to learn more about making money and being creative or self-employed. It can mean that you're changing directions and your philosophy on what you value and your love life or creativity or even children is somehow shifting. Regardless, this Cazimi is a really significant moment because it is connecting to the sun, which rules your fourth house of the ends of situations, home, family. For those of you guys who are in committed relationships, this may bring up stuff in regards to your in-laws, things that are dealing with your partner or spouse's kind of family and things that are going on there. I think it's good for you because it's going to be trining the North Node in Uranus through its transit, which is basically saying that you play a role in stepping up to the plate and being more responsible for your philosophy, your beliefs, and kind of moving your life along. So you might kind of feel like there's this turning point where you're like, I just got to get going. You know, I got to make some changes in terms of how I see things. And there is a need for me to be open to change of where you live, change of your belief system, your religion, change of how or what you're learning, right? Keep in mind this full moon is taking place on your third, ninth house axis. So there is a need to be able to communicate and share your experiences with other people. Let's take a look and see what these cards have to say for Taurus and Taurus rising. The card that I get is the Two of Cups. Very interesting because it is highlighting relationships and togetherness, maybe being unified, right? In the midst of some things that can seem a little hectic or a little chaotic. You are seeing some squares taking place still between your transits in Aquarius and your first and your seventh house. So it is possible that partnership is really supportive throughout this process. It's about close bonds, being able to ask for assistance from other people, letting other people kind of lead the way. I'm liking that in the midst of this transit, you're seeing Venus and Mars setting up into a trine within a few days. So it is harmonizing your ability to work well with others, whether it's clients or business partners or romantic partners, to be able to take care of something, handle something. And yeah, it's testing your philosophy and your belief of life, but at the same time, it's redefining what it means to be family, okay? Good luck, my Tauruses. Let's take it to Gemini and Gemini rising. Hello, Gems. Your favorite time of the year, Mercury retrograde. But this is where you kind of get like the cookie, right, for doing the work. So you have had this Mercury retrograde taking place in Capricorn in your natal 8th house. Joint resources, psychological changes, sometimes intimacy breakdown, dealing with insurance stuff, sometimes anything in regards to taxes and documents. But the name of the 8th house is change, right? Change and transformation. Now we have had Mercury going retrograde there, and it's going to conjunct the sun in the Cazimi, which is important because Mercury rules your chart. He is like a messenger for you. He also rules your body, and he also rules your 4th house of home and family. So you're seeing this theme of you, home and family, or emotions changing in the guise of the 8th house. In my opinion, it's a lot of like, how do I learn how to be more open and embracing change and transformation, maybe being the person who's initiating the change and the transformation when it comes to my joint resources with my family, i.e. paying things off, right? Paying off mortgages, coming up with a family budget, being able to handle some change or shocking transformation. There can be some drama that comes out about a family member's finances, or there can be some sense of a partner having a change in their resources and having to kind of sit down and talk about how that's going to be impacting the family. Really interesting for you because Mars is also retrograde in your sign. So there is a sense of you being like, I'm learning to kind of take a step back. I'm learning to listen and also being open to change. Can it change things in regards to where you're living? Possibly. It can also, you know, I think bring up the topics of death, inheritance, regeneration. I'm not saying this to scare you, but it may be a time where family members or relatives are talking to you about wills or estates. Equally, it can be a time where you're talking to a partner about them making changes in their resources and their work. So you can be able to kind of feel like you have better, like firmer ground underneath you at home and you have more stability and security, okay? I'm interested to see what happens because the sun coming into conjunction with Mercury, creating that Cazimi, makes me feel like it can be an insightful conversation that you have with a sibling. It may mean that there's an important document coming in the mail or something that you have to sign. So like leases, or if you're doing like debt consolidation, or if you're refinancing a mortgage, things like that can be coming up as well. But look for some of these really significant, important conversations or documents to be popping up and how it's shining a light on your joint resources with another person. Let's see what the cards have to say for you, Gemini. I get the World card, completing something, right? Fulfillment, harmony. So there is some sense of like feeling at peace with whatever the outcome is. So if you end up going back and forth and saying, hey, you know, I need a loan from a family member, or I need to be able to kind of wrap up this situation when it comes to remodeling, or I need to be able to close an insurance claim, something like that, that makes me feel like it's coming to a close. And this is a positive card because this is saying you've learned everything that you need to learn in this department. And now you're ready to kind of move forward. Obviously, you know, we're seeing pretty soon, not only is the Sun and Mercury going to leave Capricorn for all 12 signs, Pluto's going into Aquarius. So for many of us, this Mercury retrograde is kind of encapsulating everything we've been dealing with since 2008, where you have been learning to embrace change and transformation and endings because it brings new beginnings and it's allowing you to shed your skin, which is kind of cool because in the World card in this particular deck, you see that there is like a serpent that's wrapped around an egg. So it's kind of saying that there is this need for regeneration and rebirth. And it might be like a new identity for you, right? You're embracing some new change. Good luck. For Cancer and Cancer rising, we have a Sun Mercury Cazimi setting up in Capricorn in your natal 7th house. Oh boy. So like I said, for all the cardinal signs, you guys are going to feel this. And this is an interesting one because it's in your polar opposite sign. So the Sun Mercury Cazimi is that important kind of midway point in a Mercury retrograde. For you, you've had Mercury going retrograde in your 7th house. Some of you guys have gone through makeups, breakups, people from the past have come back. There is a bit of ping pong and back and forth with what you're selling or what you're trying to get out into the marketplace. Possibly there's also been a lot of miscommunications with other people who are not so clear or direct with you. Specifically also at work, not just romantic relationships. It can be business partnerships and clients because it is the sign of Capricorn. But this Cazimi is like that turning point because really what it's showing is a connection between your 12th house Lord, which is what is subconscious or what's hidden, your 3rd house Lord, which is how you communicate and kind of get the point across, and also the Sun, which is what you value. So I'm wondering, have some of you guys been like, do I ask for a raise? Like, do I raise my prices? Do I still value this person? Does this person come in and out of my life and kind of create this feeling of having like a revolving door type of relationship, and does it make me feel good? That's what I'm wondering. There's a lot of Cancer risings that are in their feelings about this right now, and especially during this full moon that's taking place in the sign of Cancer, because the moon is sitting on your ascendant if you're Cancer rising, and you're like, okay, this person's like hot and cold, they're in, they're out, like they're driving me nuts. Here's what I like. I like that you have the Sun Mercury that is making trines to placements in Taurus, stabilizing. So like Cancer risings, you need to focus on your goals. You need solid friendships who are going to give you solid advice about whether or not you want to keep doing this tango with another person or this back and forth. I also feel Like this might be somebody who told you that they value you, or told you that they're going to pay you, or told you that they're going to work with you. And then there is like a changing of directions that kind of goes on. You're one of the 12 signs that I feel inclined to say this may be a little bit more challenging also, because in the midst of the Mercury retrograde, there's a few squares that are happening to Chiron. So your public reputation, your image, your relationships with other people is very much on the line. Don't look at this as doom and gloom. I really feel like the people who are meant to be in your life are going to stay, and they're going to show up and be like, I value you, I'm not going anywhere. Equally, if you feel like there's somebody you disconnected with, somebody that fell behind, maybe it was somebody you worked with, worked for, maybe it was a partnership you had, there is a need to kind of like swallow the pride, reach out to them and go, hi, I wanted to drop you a note and let you know how I feel about you. I miss you. I'm checking in. I hope you're okay, right? Only if it's somebody who's in alignment. Obviously, give the retrograde a period of time to kind of flush out. But if you have any significant contact from people during this time personally, or you're the one sending messages out, it can be a time where you can remedy and kind of do the heavy lifting to allow the relationship to be reborn in some way, right? All right, so let's take a look. Let's see. And it might be unexpected because Mercury rules your 12th house. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting looking at this. That you're like, I had a dream about you, or vice versa, you know? And that's what opens up the conversation. And maybe you're trying to connect with them in meditation, and then boom, somebody sends you a text message. Let's take a look. Oh. All right, read that one. The Hierophant. Guidance, right? Guidance and somebody who is going to be like leading you, spiritual wisdom, religious beliefs, acknowledgement, your belief system. This is about what's tried and true. Sometimes this can be about tradition. So there can be this sense of you getting some kind of like insight where you get a reading, you talk to a therapist, you talk to a parent, somebody, and you're like, what would you do? Right? And they're like, well, this is the right thing to do, or this is how it should be done. Or if they really want to be with you, they'll do the work, right? Because Mercury being connected to your 12th house is about other people's problems. So it may not be necessarily, if you're having relationship issues, that it's you. It might be the other person has some stuff to work out. And so I think that if you get some like hard-nosed advice that's like, look, you can't chase this person, or you can't fix things for other people, you need to let them fix it and kind of come to you, that may be the advice that you need. Regardless, whoever is giving you that advice, be appreciative, right? And be careful with whose advice that you buy. Like, you want somebody who's had a lot of experience in that business or that type of relationship, or you want to go and talk to somebody who's a professional who can kind of help you sort through some of this stuff. Counselors, therapists, this can be a really significant time for that as well. Good luck. All right, so we have got Leo and Leo rising. Equally important for you, Leo. I guess I should have included you in that group because the sun rules your chart. You may not feel it as much as the other signs, but still it's rather important. So for you, Leo, we've got a Sun Mercury Cazimi setting up in Capricorn, and it's in your natal 6th house. This is going to be highlighting your health, your routines, and your habits, okay? Really important for you, especially considering the fact that the sun is about your energy, your life force, your vitality, your joy. So wherever the sun goes, you feel that. Obviously, Capricorn creates an inconjunct to your sign, so you're like, ugh, I don't want to do the heavy lifting, I don't want to do the busy work right now. But there's an important kind of storyline that's playing out with Mercury retrograde in your 6th that's about what habits are healthy, right? What is aiding my productivity? What jobs are meant for me? How can I be of service? How can I have better health? Anything in regards also to better managing either your food or your money, because Mercury rules your 2nd house of resources, values, food, and spending. It also rules your 11th house of friends and networks and goals. So there's 11th house themes, 2nd house themes playing out in your 6th house. And I feel that it's like, what are your goals when it comes to your productivity levels? How often do you want to go to the gym? How much work do you want to get done? Are you meeting your timelines and your deadlines, right? And is it time to go back to work, go back to the gym, go to the doctor's office, get something checked out? Are you reevaluating, what is my purpose? How can I help people and also make money? who can connect me to other people as well. It might be a time where you're trying to think of like, do I need to join professional networking groups? Do I need to be taking group fitness classes? It involves other people in some way because Mercury's connection to your 11th house. Now, the Cazimi moment when the Sun and Mercury conjunct, it's basically about you going like, wow, you know, this is a problem. I'm overspending. I need an accountant, or I need somebody to help me build a budget. I'm spending too much money on, you know, going out to eat. I need to come up with a food budget, and I need to start really sitting down and looking at how much time or energy I'm spending on going out to eat and start kind of remedying that in some way. That's another way that can play out. But it does involve you really focusing on your goals and also on your values. So it can be an important time where you become aware of a health issue. You become aware of a bad habit, especially if it's something that's like mental, like if it's negative self-talk, if it's like, you know, eating late at night, if it's skipping the gym and like ordering in Chinese food. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you notice that that's becoming like a habit and a problem, and that it's also coming out during the full moon, and that you're realizing that as a result of like working too much or not doing the emotional self-care that you need to be doing, that there is this unraveling of your patterns and your habits, then it might be a time to kind of course correct. And I definitely think it's about productivity because it has the connections to your 10th house. So it's also like, are you on time? Are you making sure that you're giving yourself enough time to get around and get places? You need to be getting up earlier and readjusting your schedule so you can feel like you're the most productive. Changes at work, changes with also coworkers. Yeah, that can happen as well. Let's take a look at what the cards say for you, Leo. Ooh, the Chariot. I like it. It's about getting going, right? It's like, this could be a moment where you have a wake-up call and you're like, okay, I can't do this anymore, right? I can't allow myself to keep doing this anymore. This is also about success and where you're using emotion to kind of forward yourself and make yourself go, no, I feel so strongly about this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it done. Movement, motion, anything in regards to determination, opposing forces, working towards a goal, and getting all your ducks in a row, okay? So watch for that. I think it's good for you. I think there's gonna be a lot of emotion behind whatever your motivation is personally. So let me know how that plays out for you, Leo. Good luck. I love that that's also connected to Cancer. So that's very much about the Cancer full moon. For my Virgos and Virgo rising, pay attention because we've got this Sun Mercury Cazimi taking place in a sister sign. It's happening in your 5th house of Capricorn. Obviously, this is important because Virgos, you are very much like Gemini connected to Mercury. It is almost an archetype of you. Wherever Mercury is going, that's where you're kind of having the most action. The Sun Mercury Cazimi can be an interesting one because it's bringing together both your responsibility, okay? So you're seeing like 1st house, me, what I get done, what I am responsible for in your 5th house, right? And it's taking into consideration the conjunction with the Sun. So this can play out a number of different ways. The first things first is I think whenever you're seeing transits in the 5th house, it's about matters of the heart. So whether it's your children, your self-owned business, your love life, like a romantic partner, anything in regards to those things, that's where you're going to be seeing the action. The 5th house can be about your talents, your hobbies, or even being on stage. So if you're a Virgo rising who has a creative business, if you work with children, if you are self-employed, if you take chances and gamble professionally, whatever, if you're also involved in trading in the markets, this can be an important time. I feel like when we see the Sun merge with your chart ruler, it's bringing out all of your subconscious fears, right? Or your subconscious hidden talents. It depends on how you use this energy. I also feel like this can be a really significant epiphany and turning point for Virgo risings in regards to them realizing, what is it I want to do for a living? What is my passion? How can I do that every day? But it can also be about frustration with parenting, right? Frustration with like children or romantic partners or lovers, and also responsibility and feeling like you're in control in some way, because Mercury rules your 10th house. Long running story here with the Mars retrograde, with squares to Neptune and also your sun, moon, or rising, about your job and whose responsibility things are, and something changing or transforming about your let's just say your public, reputation, whether that's like, going from one job position to another, going from being single to being in a partnership, from, being by yourself to suddenly being a parent. There's been a lot of like stressors that have come up for Virgo risings. And I feel like a lot of this can be about, where is a romantic relationship going, and am I going to the next level in a relationship, and how do I make time for that? How do I make time for children? How do I make time for a partner? It can also be a time where I think some of you guys are finally kind of putting the finishing touches on a creative project and getting ready to launch it pretty soon, especially with Mars getting ready to go direct. So you want to use both the Mercury and the Mars retrograde to get everything in order before you launch this thing. Okay, that's the other way that I would see it. But bottom line is, it's all going to be about how you reorganize communicating and sharing with the world what you're passionate about and what you love, and really showing everybody your talent, right? Yeah, there can be lots of back and forth in dating right now, right? That can be a thing. There can be a lot of back and forth in relationships and serious conversations about whether or not there is love there, and if having children, getting married, living together is on the horizon. So that can be a big theme. Saturn's going into your 7th house here pretty soon. Let's take a look and let's see what the cards say for Virgos and Virgo rising. The card that I get is the Page of Cups. Wow. So for some people, it can literally be news in regards to pregnancy, right? Mercury rules your 1st house. News in regards to, oh my gosh, I'm in love with you, right? It can be a water sign. So this can be a Cancer or a Pisces or a Scorpio that kind of comes in, a romantic connection, something that's just blossoming. It can be where you have a chance meeting and you connect with someone, right? Retrogrades are karmic. So this is about also being sensitive, open to possibilities, being open to romance, and just really being present and enjoying the moment. So for those of you guys who are just getting into kind of dating again, or into a creative project, to me it looks really positive, and it's about being hopeful and idealistic about the future, but also tapping into your inner child and being more creative and like a little bit more sensitive to what could be, right? Happening during a full moon. So, I mean, I like the fact that it sextiles your ascendant. You're really open to goals. It's highlighting your friendships and also romantic stuff. So perhaps your goals and your relationships are starting to kind of come together, giving you the opportunity to realize how sweet life actually can be. Okay? Good luck, my Virgos. All right, so for Libra and Libra rising, let's take a look here. All right, so we're taking a look at a Sun Mercury Cazimi taking place in Capricorn in your natal 4th house. All the cardinal signs, you're going to feel it. So I'm going to keep telling you guys all of this. Whenever you're seeing this happening in an angular house, it's going to be a little louder. Your 4th house is your home, your family, your property, and this is also ends of situations or roots. So Mercury traditionally rules your 12th house of the subconscious, stuff that's hidden, and your 9th house in connection to higher education, philosophy, your belief in life. And so you're going to see these 9th house and 12th house energies taking place in your natal 4th house. For my Libra and Libra risings, I think this is going to be about your philosophy on home and family changing. It can mean that you're doing some sense of learning more about your family lineage, your history and roots. It can also mean that, things in the house that go missing suddenly become found. Issues in regards to properties and estates and legal things involving home sales and purchases can definitely come up as well. There can also just be more of a need for rest and recuperation. Mercury is going to conjunct the Sun, which is the ruler of your 11th house. So it's about you figuring out how to kind of get your home or your emotions or your family in order and completing a certain set of goals when it comes to your home life, right? I've also seen this materialize as like relatives from the past kind of popping back up. It can also mean that there is like a much stronger sense of spidey senses that are kind of going on. You might have dreams about loved ones or family members who are on the other side who have transitioned. This is especially true because of the trines to the North Node and Uranus in your 8th house of death and regeneration and the other side. Some of you guys are trying to kind of heal or clear the past, and there's like a lot of stuff that's getting kicked up in the process of that because it's trining planets in the 8th house, and it's like affecting the way that you view change, transformation, release, letting go. So if you've been moving house, changing, transforming the house, if there is stuff that's coming up also about relatives and joint money and resources, that can be coming up for you as well. For Libra, sun, moon, and rising especially, this can be a little bit more difficult because you're actually going to be seeing, especially if you have any Libra placements, sun, moon, rising, that's going to be like, let's say 14 to 18 degrees. The reason being is this is going to happen during a full moon, okay? So we have this full moon in Cancer that's going to be in your 10th house, really highlighting your career, your public reputation, you as a parent, or your private life becoming public. And it is creating a grand cardinal cross because we've got a full moon here, Chiron in the 12th house, bringing up relationship challenges and wounding in relationships, and your 4th house where it's about your work from home, your roots. It's, as a Libra rising, I can tell you, even just coming up to the full moon, all of these things apply. It's definitely a thing. You may notice that there's just more need to kind of take better care of yourself emotionally, and you may feel like you need to be focusing on your private life and your feelings and your home a little bit more. But regardless, I do think after this period is done, you're going to realize that you've kind of cleared something emotionally or psychologically, and you're releasing the past and you're getting ready to move forward, right? Remember, Pluto is moving into Aquarius here pretty soon. So you're going to wrap up what's been a significant period of time where all of your private life and your roots and your family stuff has been unearthed. And now you're moving to a period of time where you're more so focused on creativity, happiness, your love life, children, all of that stuff, okay? Let's take a look at what the cards have to say for you, Libra. The card that I get is the 5 of Swords. Not surprised by this card. Conflict, challenges, disagreements, aggression, hostility, intimidation, stress. Yes, this is a thing. But really what I think what this is highlighting is where you're moving away from that, right? Mercury rules your 12th house. So it's you being like, I can't handle the stress, I'm going to bed, right? Or I'm, going to the gym, because Virgo can be private gyms in the 12th house, or I'm going to go meditate. Like there's a need to kind of feel like you need to escape things. So there can be tension and conflict that's coming up during this time, but at the same time, it's through that conflict that you're realizing, okay, there are certain things that I need to hash out, and there's certain things to just let be and walk away from, and not continue to create drama. I'm looking at Chiron being at the focal point of this T-square between the full moon and Mercury, and likely you're going to find that partners are creating problems, or that clients are creating problems, or that there is some kind of conflict that you're having with other people that is either needing to be dealt with, or it's needing to kind of be wrapped up, or you need to be taking a break from others. So if that's the case, just move through that, pick your battles, and learn how to communicate without adding fuel to the fire, okay? Good luck, my Libras. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. Hopefully you guys are doing well. We're looking at this Sun Mercury Cazimi that's setting up here in the sign of Capricorn, and it's in your natal 3rd house. For you, Scorpio, the 3rd house is connected to siblings, communication, documents, vehicles, short distance trips, things that you're learning, gadgets. My Scorpio risings, be very careful with gadgets. Be very careful with driving. Be very careful also with what you say. These are things that are all going to be really kind of highlighted here during the time of the Cazimi. Mercury traditionally rules for you the 11th house, which is about your goals, your friends, network. So this can be about what you're doing online with other people. And Mercury also rules your 8th house of joint resources and others. So interesting. So you're seeing 8th house of secret, hidden joint resources, mental stuff, getting fused with the 11th house of friends and others on your 3rd. Definitely a profound moment for recognizing and realizing your goals and what needs to change to be able to obtain your goals, some kind of strategy plan changing, especially if you're a Scorpio rising who has like a podcast or a blog or a YouTube channel or any kind of media. This is that turning point where you're like, okay, now I know how I'm redirecting and re-strategizing something. Why is that? Well, the 3rd house is about your public platforms because the sun is involved, right? Sun is your career. The 3rd house is where you relay information. So this Cazimi is a moment where I would sit down and like come up with like a period of time where you can like reflect and almost like not vision board, but strategize, like write down all of the different topics and things that you can like do videos on, or that you can kind of write about in your blog. Maybe it's going to also be about you trying to figure out, okay, do I need to start a group? Do I bring other people in on this? Do I reach out and like phone a friend or talk to somebody about like collaborating with me on this because of the connection to your 11th house? Joint resources is a theme, so there might be this sense of like having to sign a contract, agree to something, be talking to another person about what something costs. That can come up as well. But it's definitely about your responsibility, or it's about your public image when it comes to work in general. The reason why I say be careful with what you say is because you might say something or you might post something that becomes very public, so it gains a bit of traction. Knowing this, you can really use this to your advantage and go, wow, this is a moment where I'm going to get a lot of visibility. I'm going to, post right now. And probably, I wouldn't recommend doing it at the moment of the Cazimi, but you could do something like when Mercury retrogrades and trines Uranus, because it's going to bring you more public recognition. Equally, these planets in the 3rd house can be about your siblings. It can be about just your ideas and what's on your mind and how you're relaying this to other people. So it's also going to be about how you're communicating with your spouses or your romantic partners or your clients, especially when it comes to strategy with money and resources. If you have a business partner, sitting down and being like, okay, this is what we're thinking, this is what it's going to cost, like let's get it down on paper, like yada, yada. It's a really great time in regards to planning out things for the rest of the year and how you're looking to execute stuff on your social media, blogs, websites, whatever, really all the way through August of 2023. There's going to be a Venus retrograde there over the summer, so don't worry about that. That's when you kind of change directions again. But be mindful, like I said, of how you communicate. Use words as power and initiate something during the time of this Cazimi, even if it's just journaling. You may find through journaling there's going to be some profound insight that you're going to have, and you're going to have a breakthrough and realize like what path you need to go forward to be able to get more recognition. Let's take a look and see what the cards have to say. I get the 3 of Wands. That's awesome. I like that, especially, I didn't talk about this because it's not really about this, but Mars is stationing, all right? Mars is going to go direct here later this week. So after several months of having a Mars retrograde, I'm sure you're very exhausted because that's your ruling planet. It's getting ready to regain its strength. And that reminds me of the 3 of Wands. It's about moving forward, deciding what direction you're going in, awaiting results, having foresight, new horizons, growth, reaching a milestone. So maybe it's about being like, okay, I need X amount of followers or X amount of subscribers or X amount of posts per week, and like really coming up with what might even be a content schedule. So that way you know what you're hoping to achieve and how you're going to be executing this and making this happen. But it's about being able to assess your results along the way as well. So I love it for you. I feel like it's going to make you really active, and it's definitely going to broaden your ability to connect with other people. Okay. Good luck, Scorpio. For Sag and Sag rising, we have got the Sun Mercury Cazimi taking place in Capricorn in your natal second house. This is really big for your money, your finances, spending, your values, all of your material gains and your possessions. So the Sun Mercury Cazimi moment, obviously that's going to be shining a light on where something becomes clear in regards to what you value. Now, I think a lot of this deals with money in regards to your professional life and your business. I think it also is connected very much to your clients. So if you're a Sagittarius rising or a Sagittarius sun, it can be a time where you're getting ready to tell the world, hey, you know, my prices are changing. I'm charging more for services. Or I've made this really important investment in my business, investment in my relationships. I'm partnering with someone new. You may find that this is a time where you are bringing in what may be a new financial advisor, a new therapist, a new wealth manager, somebody who's going to be helping you strategize and making more of your money. But I think that it's just more like letting people know that, you know, your fees are increasing, or that you value something more, or that you have something valuable. It can be something that you get from another person, because Mercury rules the 7th house. So somebody might say, oh, surprise, I've got this gift for you. I know you needed this thing at work, or I know that you need investment, or that you're looking for somebody who's going to finance something, and the right person kind of shows up for you. The sun obviously rules your 9th house. And so this is going to be about the bigger picture in life. So it can also mean that somebody says, hey, I want to help you pay for, you know, publishing your book. I want to buy your course. I want to help you, you know, pay for going on your trip, or whatever, help you with continuing your education. So somebody else might come in and help you do that. And it's because they know that you really value this, that this is somehow really important to you. I like that this is going to be making positive aspects to the North Node and Uranus in your 6th house. I feel like it might be people who are trying to kind of come in and help you better your schedule, better your health. And if you need some kind of help or support in some way, this will bring these people in for you and help you kind of better your health, or organize something, right? You might be reevaluating also, like, you know, is it in the budget for this? Can we afford this, you know, added expense when it comes to my professional spending? But yeah, definitely getting organized, feeling like you're becoming more productive, you're bringing more money in, and a really strong time to just be reevaluating and closing out 2022, getting all your documents, all your spending stuff together as you're getting ready, probably to start doing your taxes, and coming up with a strategy plan moving forward for what you're going to spend and what you're going to be bringing in 2023. Let's take a look and see what the cards have to say. I get the Magician, so this is cool. What I like about the 2nd house, not just because it's in Capricorn, but it's a physical house. It's about things physically manifesting what you possess. So the fact that this is like connecting to Uranus, is it saying like, it's not here yet, but it's coming. I'm manifesting, I'm bringing this thing in. You might find that you're doing a lot of work around finances and abundance and money magic and manifestation, and you're really focusing on being solid, feeling good, what you value going into the new year, and really reflecting on what your values are and what your belief is when it comes to self-worth, what you're worth, what you can achieve, what you feel like you're capable of, whether or not you're valuing yourself, your body, and if you're living in a state of wealth and abundance. The Magician basically says, look, you have everything at your convenience to make magic happen. It's as above, so below. So there is this need to kind of go, okay, it's not here yet, but it's coming in, it's coming in, it's coming in. I have everything that I need to be able to kind of make magic happen. So whether it's remedying a financial situation, remedying a health or a work situation, be in a state of everything's working out, everything's coming together, and really reflecting on your values to help move through this really important time, okay? Good luck, my Saggies. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. Obviously, very important time for you. All eyes are on you guys, because the retrograde and the Cazimi is taking place in your natal sign. So if you're a Capricorn rising, especially if this is around, 16, 17 degrees, sun, moon, or rising, Very personal for you because this can represent some epiphany, a personal epiphany. Now, in your first house, okay, this is about your body, your appearance, how you communicate, how you share with the world. So you're kind of maybe feeling a little all over the place. You're noticing fluctuations with the mind, Mercury. You're noticing changes in your speech patterns. You don't know how to communicate. You're kind of going back and forth a little bit. Mercury rules your 6th house of health, and Mercury also rules your 9th house of higher belief and studies and travel. So to some extent, this could literally manifest as you're changing your belief and your philosophy about your health and your body and your routines, what you're capable of. I've said this before, I'll say this again. My Capricorns, okay, sun, moon, or rising. If you guys have gotten to a point where you're sick of your own stuff and you're like, okay, I have to cut this bad habit, or I need to stop overworking, or I need to stop oversleeping, or I need to stop the negative self-talk, now is the moment to do that, okay? Because change and transformation is the name of the game, because we've got the sun, which rules your 8th house of change. Happiness and joy is the sun. It's coming in conjunction with Mercury. So it's like, yes, I can. It's like Thomas the Train. Yes, I can. I think I can. I think I can. Maybe that's something you need to tell yourself during this transit. I have the ability to create change at any point in time. Don't get hung up with, oh, I already screwed up, or I slept in, I didn't go to the gym every day, or I already messed up on my diet, or, I was trying to be at work on time every day this week and I was 10 minutes late. Don't fall off your routine. Get back on the horse. If you can do that, this can be a moment where you're like, you know what? It's okay. I'm learning to adjust. I'm adjusting to this, whatever. This is also about you having breakthroughs, about how you deal with change, death, regeneration. There can be lots of information coming to you about inheritances, about resources, about budgets, about legal stuff. And also, kind of reflecting on your relationship with your schedule, your health, or possibly even your coworkers. So there can be this weirdness in regards to how much you tell people at work, how much information you reveal about what's going on in your personal life, or even with your health or with your schedule. In some situations, I would say it may be best to keep some things private. I've spoken to a lot of Cap risings who have been like, my family member's not dealing well, I can't be at work right now, this, that, and the other. I would say focus on you and your immediate environment and what you need, and also whatever's going on with the family. Don't be feeling like you need to be relaying messages back and forth to work. You need to be present with what's going on right now. This may be a time where you realize that you need to make a change in how you communicate with other people. You may be a little afraid to say something or speak out, and you may feel a little mentally stressed. But through this process, you're going to realize that change is inevitable, embracing the change is important, and that there's a new version of you that's getting ready to emerge after this series of, retrograde, and then finally Mercury will conjunct Pluto, and you're going to become more aware of this new version of yourself, or more aware of your goals in general, right? So important for you, especially Capricorns who are trying to get on the right track with health and habits. Really pay attention to this moment, because I feel like this is when you're going to have a breakthrough. All right, so let's see what the cards say. I love it. 8 of Wands. So 8 of Wands is about fast communication, energy changing, picking up the pace, getting active, getting moving, excitement, rapid and immediate reaction. But this is also about communication. Getting your energy levels back up, moving around, getting active, like getting your heart rate up, being out in the sun, like working up a sweat a little bit. But it's exciting because it's like, well, at least things are happening. You're not in a state of not being mobile. With Mercury going direct, with Mars going direct, if you haven't been working, if you haven't been feeling active, if you've been feeling down, this energy is about to shift very significantly. So it's important to really pay attention to when this shift happens. I feel like for a lot of Capricorn risings, this is going to be the moment where you're like, I can't just stay in this place. I can't be in this place of being immobile. I can't be in this place of being in despair. I have to get myself out of bed and I have to get moving. And I would just say take it one step at a time, and you have to reward yourself for the little wins, okay? And take your time until we come out of this retrograde. That's when you're going to be feeling a little bit better, all right? Good luck, Capricorn. Sending you lots of good vibes. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, we are going to be having the Sun Mercury Cazimi taking place in Capricorn, which is in your natal 12th house. Ooh, this is an interesting one. So your 12th house, subconscious, your bedroom, hidden office, back rooms, spaces, things that you don't know, stuff that is about to be revealed. Maybe it's just me. I had a Cazimi here this last fall, excuse me. When it was in Libra. And every single time I saw Mercury dip into my 12th house, and then when I saw the Cazimi, it was like so significant, so spiritual, especially for dreams for me. There were some very literal things that came through. I would say the same thing I said to you during the Mercury retrograde video. Be open to what weird mystical experiences you have. If it's a strange dream, write it down. If it's a breakthrough in meditation, write it down. If it's like this sudden realization that you need to go to therapy, go. I say this because the 12th house is where we heal, right? Mercury is the mind. So we're healing the mind. We're healing all of the nerves. We might need more rest, more recuperation. In Capricorn, it's doing the work to be able to do that. Now, Mercury rules the 8th house of change, transformation, joint resources, death, the other side. It also rules the 5th house of creativity, talents, lovers, children. For some of you, it will manifest as, oh my gosh, I'm concerned, I'm worried about my kid. I'm worried about my grandchildren. I'm worried about my boyfriend, my girlfriend. But it can also be about, wow, things are changing for my children, for my creative business, for my direction in life. How am I embracing that change? Because we've got 8th house stuff and 5th house stuff happening in the 12th house. Can there be changes in regards to business stuff? Yes, because the 12th house is where things kind of like wrap up. So we're wrapping up all of our loose ends. Probably a lot of you guys getting ready before Pluto goes into Aquarius because you're like, oh my gosh, Saturn's leaving my sign. Pluto's coming into my sign. I'm embracing this new life in the spring. But this is also a time right before your birthday where we shake everything out. So there can be breakthroughs, but there can also be breakdowns and the need to accept and acknowledge that things are changing. You're not the same. Your resources aren't the same. Your family or your home life, they aren't the same. Embrace some of these trines that are happening with Earth planets in water houses. It's how do we feel about physical shifts? We find ourselves in new environments, in new places, having new experiences. How do I feel about that? That's something I'd be asking myself. And so really be open to what comes through that may have been lurking in your subconscious, hanging around in your bedroom. Get more rest, recuperation. If you want to spend time in an office space working on creative things, if you want to spend more time in bed watching movies where you feel inspired, that's very likely as well. Because it may kind of drum something up that's going to make you go, oh, I really find this interesting. I really like this. I want to learn more about this. I want to research this, right? And it's going to help bring more joy, more excitement, more fun into your life down the road. All right, let's take a look what the cards have to say for Aquarius risings. Justice. So this is about finding balance, accountability, consequences, truths being revealed, universal law. I really like that. One thing I didn't touch on is that the sun rules your 7th house. Kind of important, right? So being that the sun rules your 7th house and that you've got the 7th house lord meeting with the 8th house lord and the 5th house lord, major changes in regards to relationships, major breakthroughs in regards to your karmic responsibilities to others. This can be a time where a partner confides in you and they tell you something, or there's some insight that comes through therapy, or they have a feeling or a vision about something, or there is a need for you to be like, okay, I'm done with this relationship, or I'm over this phase of things, or there's a need to let this thing go. Especially because you've got the 7th and the 5th house hit. Now for committed relationships, I don't think it's going to really change much, but for those of you guys who are in kind of like a more casual relationship, we can see conversations that have definitive decisions where you kind of decide yay or nay on a person. For those of you guys who are committed, it can be that there is some kind of pillow talk or something that goes on where you have a breakthrough or realization about something, and you get some insight, or somebody kind of tells you a little bit about something that's going on with them, or even with one of their hobbies or their interests, or something that involves children. But it does involve other people. So tying in the Justice card to this is like some kind of truth kind of coming out and being revealed, which we generally see during a Cazimi anyway, but I feel like this is really important because somebody may help you see a blind spot on something, and it's something that likely you need to hear, okay? So be open to that advice from other people, Aquarius. Good luck. And now we have Pisces and Pisces rising. We are going to be taking a look at the Mercury Cazimi that will be taking place in the sign of Capricorn. That'll be right around the time of the full moon on the 6th in Cancer. You might see it bleed in a little bit into the 7th. I know some of you guys are looking at the date, but this is going to be happening on the 6th. Now, the Sun Mercury Cazimi in Capricorn is in your natal 11th house. This is friends, your network, your social media. This is also your goals. It can be about socializing, partying. But in the sign of Capricorn, I think it's about collective group goals that you're having with people professionally, professional networking, or some of your long-term goals in general. Might be friends and people that you work with as well. Mercury rules your 7th house of relationships. It also rules your 4th house of home, family, and the past. So you see 4th house stuff, 7th house stuff playing out in the 11th house. So you might have friends that are talking to you about their home life, their relationships. You may be talking to your friends or your colleagues about something that's going on in your partnership, or working together with them, or possibly talking to them about something that's going on that's very private in regards to your home or your family. And they're giving you some insight here. There's some assistance that's coming from other people because the Sun-Mercury conjunction is throwing in the ruler of your 6th house. So other people say, well, what do you need? Do you need me to help you find a job? Do you need me to give you some advice? Maybe you're like, oh my gosh, this is going on with my partner. This is going on at home. And they're like, okay, well, let's talk about it. And they'll give you some little tidbit of advice to help you kind of figure out how to remedy these situations. It can be people that are talking to you about moving or movement. If you're in a situation where you're trying to figure out, okay, I'm thinking about moving or relocating, or I need a place to crash because I'm not getting along with my significant other, you might have somebody who steps in and is willing to help you. Now, obviously the Mercury retrograde can bring back friends from the past, but I think it's also meant to help you reevaluate what are your goals? How can you best be of service out in the world? When you need assistance from a friend, do you call them? Do you reach out to them? Does somebody kind of, repay that favor now that you're having like a challenging time? And can you call on them and say, hey, I'm having a difficult time. I need some assistance, possibly. I like that this energy sextiles your sign. I'm also liking that it's really opening up your 3rd house of communication. So likely it's going to prompt a sporadic email, phone call, some kind of insight that you get from another person to help you work your way through what could be a relationship or a home situation and get to the core of what your goals are, so you can kind of come up with a strategy or an action plan to be able to kind of work through that. Equally, great time for reconnecting with clients, reconnecting and reevaluating some of your professional goals and joining professional associations. So this can be a time where somebody pops in and says, yeah, I can connect you to so-and-so, or like, oh, you're looking for a job. Let me connect you to that person because I think they're hiring. And they can make that connection so that way you're able to feel like you can kind of get back on top of some of your professional goals in general. Let's take a look at what the cards have to say for you, my Pisces, in regards to what the Mercury Cazimi is going to be bringing in. Oh, awesome. 10 of Cups. Union, right? So this is union, happiness, harmony, harmonizing with the right people. I think it could also be like an opportunity for chance meetings. Some of you guys may have connected with partners or, people professionally in the past, and now they're coming back up. So there's an opportunity to reconnect with the right people who can kind of help align you. 10 of Cups is like cup runneth over, right? But this is also about domestic stuff, things in regards to relationships, home or family, helping figure out your goals. And through talking to a like-minded person, they're helping you kind of make sense of what your goals are when it comes to your home life or your romantic relationships. Alignment, right? Family, that's something else. So maybe it's having a sit down with certain people and being able to talk to people in your home or your family about your goals. That way everybody feels heard, and you're able to kind of remedy a certain situation and move through it. Possibly, I think this is going to come from the support of a specific someone. So look for that person who's going to pop in and assist you. Could it be a Capricorn? Possibly it can, but it could also be somebody who's older, wiser, or just an older friend from the past, okay? All right, you guys, I'm excited to see what the Cazimi has in store. Certainly, it's been colorful for me watching all of this retrograde tear through my 4th house, and things go missing and then they pop up and stuff from the past comes up and then it gets cleared out. So it's like all of this happening prior to the Cazimi moment. I am very curious to see how this manifests for me. Let me know, leave me your comments below. Are you having this happen on a prominent placement in Capricorn? Is it on your sun, moon, rising? What things are you guys noticing just leading up to this transit? You can always circle back around and let me know after it's played out in a couple of days' time. Equally, happy full moon in Cancer. Such an interesting time to see all of this stuff kind of come out in the open and become illuminated. Yeah, stay open, stay aware, stay meditating, stay journaling, and stay open to whatever the messages are that kind of come through during this Cazimi moment. I will see all of you guys very soon. If you guys like my videos, don't forget to click the button, subscribe, and give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it, and I will see all of you very soon. Take care.